welcome back to the Marble League podcast. Today we are just going to be reviewing and giving our thoughts on the first 4 events of the Marble League, which is now about 1/5 of the way through.
Yeah, sorry it took so long to get the first video up. It was like a third event in, but it takes a while to edit. Anyway, so the first team that really jumps out at me as performing really terrible is the Minty Maniacs, who I thought were going to do really well this year.
Yeah, well, the Minty Maniacs, they had a really strong 2020, but I don't know, I just kind of got the vibe that they would kind of tail off. That's a little bit of what the Green Ducks did after their impressive year in 2019.
Don't be coming after Quack Attack.
But speaking of the Green Ducks, they're sitting at 6th, and that's fine. They have won 1 gold, which was good after their first event, in which they placed last.
Yeah.
And there's still a long time to go.
Big comeback for Quack Attack.
But they put themselves in a good position. So sitting at the 15th spot, we've got the Limers. And the Limers have missed out on a few Marble Leagues before this year. So it's really no surprise how poorly they're doing.
Blowing their big shot.
Yeah, Limers fans can't be too happy.
Next up is possibly the most disappointing team this year, the O-Rangers, who might have the biggest fan base. They just bottomed out, only 25 points so far, which is less than half of the Raspberry Racers. It's still, it's still early, so they could make a comeback. Just need to win 1 event and they're back in, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, and then the Savage Speeders are directly in the same boat. A lot of people had predicted, these are the top 2 teams, these are the top 2 teams from last year, that they would be battling it out, but they've found themselves at the bottom of the standings. And it is early, but you really do want to see at least some good performances in the next quarter of these games to really get themselves back on track.
And the Shining Swarm, I couldn't really get a read on them going in. I keep forgetting if they're good or not. Anyway, they're doing not really well so far, but again, it's really early, so they're 6 more points and they'd be fine.
11th spot is fine. 28 points. That is 27 back at the lead, but it's fine. And then the Rojo Rollers were really in trouble, but they managed to get a bronze in the funnel event, barely eking that out. And honestly, I think Rojo Dos got the bronze for them, and that was really big because up until that point, you've definitely been thinking, there were even some comments that were why are the Rojo Rollers here? They shouldn't have qualified like they hadn't done, I think, the last 3 years. But now they're in 11th, and they've got some momentum behind them. Maybe they can make something happen.
Yeah, tied for 10th, actually. But, yeah, I'm not feeling good about the Rojo Rollers. I predict, there's either going to be a huge comeback or more likely just a downfall.
There's a chance they can build on it, though.
Yeah, I suppose. It's there. And Mellow Yellow doing perfectly fine. 10th.
Solid
Not
spot.
a lot to say. Definitely a chance to make some noise, but they gotta do better. Crazy Cat's Eyes, they're hosting. I always forget that.
Yeah, they have got 1 gold medal, but that's really about it. Besides that, in the other 3 events, they've got 9 points combined. So not great, but that gold medal has really saved them from the host curse so far.
Yeah. Next up, you have the Hazers, who I guess are doing fine. Again, I really couldn't get a read on them.
The Hazers are always a solid team, and they put themselves in striking distance. They can't be too mad about their start.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a terrible event in the funnel endurance, though.
They're tied with the Indigo Stars, who, again, I don't really know. I didn't think they were going to do well this year, but so far they've proven me pretty wrong.
Then the Green Ducks, we already talked about them.
Quack Attack, number 2. Best hashtag by far.
And then, so far, the surprise with the big win in funnel endurance is Chocolatiers hashtag raise the bar. And
So
this was a team that I honestly did believe would be the dark horse, and so far they're sitting at number 5, obviously with that funnel endurance. They're 14 points back in the lead, and this was a team, they were the last team to qualify, I believe, and so far they're making a pretty big impact on the standings.
Yeah, they just moved up 7 spots with that last event. But, they're still 1 point behind my team, the Thunderbolts. Yeah, the Thunderbolts are doing pretty well so far. We haven't actually medaled, but we're in the 4 spot, which is surprising. It just shows the consistency of us. In Event 3, I got pretty scared when we went back to our old ways where we made it through the first round of qualifying, then did what we always did and just get last in the second round, getting us 8th, which was just like classic Thunderbolts last year. But we bounced back with the funnel endurance, which is it's always fun to see, how we just like got ahead on the last one, then just shot through like 4 straight, but then fought out. We were the last ones into the final funnel, then we just fought through, which is it's heartening, I gotta say. So that's one of my favorite YouTubers, M&J TV, coming out as a Thunderbolts fan in the comments. That's always fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a fan of the Raspberry Racers, Tom? Huh?
Everyone. I think it's the most popular team.
That's not. Well,
So number 3 is the Gliding Glaciers. The Gliding Glaciers, this is their second Marble Olympics, and they have grabbed 1 bronze, receiving 43 points, 12 pack, and a very good Marble Olympics for them so far. They put themselves right into striking distance. Number 2 is Team Momo, who has kind of come out of the blue, but is only 7 points back of our leaders. And, if they can battle through all the injuries and adversity, like, this is a team that thrives off of it. But everything seemed to go right so far, and it's put them in pretty good position.
Have I just not been paying attention? Because apparently they've been up at like number 1 or number 2 now, but I just didn't have them on my radar like at all.
Yeah, it's a surprising team. But then we get to the story of the Marble Olympics, and my team,
The story is the
the Raspberry Racers. Was anyone really realistic that didn't expect them to be here? Like, they medaled in 3 out of their 4 events. The other event, they did get last place, but the funnel endurance, I believe 2020 Marble Olympics, they got 9th on the funnel endurance, but here, Resi just put on an absolute clinic, set what I think will eventually be a record, beating everyone by 36 seconds, and then managing to grab the silver, just barely losing to the Chocolatiers. And it's been an absolute domination for the Raspberry Racers, and I'm really excited to see how it's gonna play out, because usually their strength is speed, but the speed event was their worst one, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out when we get to more of the speed or even underwater events.
So Tom, quick question. The Raptors now have 2 silvers and 1 bronze, but still no gold. So I have to say,
Well, the
do you feel the oncoming implosion, or
Well-
are you just like how gravely disappointed are you?
Well, no other team has more than 1 medal, and we have 3 of them. So, as a Raspberry Racers fan, you just gotta feel pretty good. Because in 2019, how they won was just through consistency, and that's what they're doing so far, minus the last place finish.
So do you ever think they'll win gold again?
Doesn't matter, 'cause they're in first. So, I think let's go on to the prediction portion. I've still got the Raspberry Racers winning. I think you'd be a fool to go away from that prediction at the moment. And then Chocolatiers are the dark horse. I think, my original predictions are working out pretty darn well.
Okay.
And I like the Hazers to possibly make a run too. I don't think the O-Rangers and Savage Speeders are going to move up quite yet, but maybe later in the event.
Okay. The one thing I don't think is going to happen is I don't think the Rojo Rollers are going to stay stagnant. They're either going to drop or just shoot up and become a contender really quick. I see the Hazers sticking exactly where they are. Thunderbolts will, kind of pretty much stay where they are, and then we'll make the push later. Green Ducks, I think, will march forward, and I don't know, I think the Limers have a good chance of going up. Minty Maniacs, I think they're going to wind up at about 10th. Make a comeback, but not enough.
Okay.
Thunderbolts winning out.
So I think that's all we got for this episode. So thank you for listening.